Now it's time to introduce our guest for today, Secretary Russell Redding. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us, Secretary. You've been very involved in the 4-H program, and we're so appreciative of your dedication to its mission. With that being said, could you tell us a little bit about your connection to the 4-H program?
Yeah, good morning. And let me first say thank you to the council. Really appreciate your leadership through the year. These are unprecedented times, but it is so reassuring to see your faces, hear your voices, and know that you're out there, and know that even in these times when we're can feel disconnected, you're keeping us together, and that's a really important part of 4-H. It really is what 4-H is about. In terms of my connection to 4-H, so it's a long, interwoven history of 4-H. We grew up, I was not a 4-H member, so I always sort of put that disclosure out front, but that doesn't mean that I don't appreciate and don't see the value, and haven't witnessed that in my life. I have. I was in the FFA organization, if I can say that this morning. You can edit that out if you feel necessary. But importantly, I've watched 4-H as a youth, in all of the activities in my community where I was involved. 4-H members were there. It was part of the youth engagement, significant part of youth engagement. I've had two sons, Garrison and Elliot, be part of the Adams County 4-H, and really give a lot of credit to their involvement. So they've been involved. I'm married into a family of 4-Hers. My wife was a 4-H member, went to 4-H Congress, the state days, actively involved. And of course, she works for Penn State Cooperative Extension now, so we get a chance to see that involvement. But my in-laws were recognized for 50-year members, 4-H leaders. They dedicated their lives to helping 4-H, and Nina and I are also 4-H leaders, or were, for a very long time. So that's just the personal piece, and then the professional part within the Department of Ag. 4-H. I just really look to the 4-H program and the FFA program, the youth engagement, as being so critical. It's not about, and I've come to appreciate this, it is not about just the organization. It's about the person, right? And the skills that are developed, the opportunities that are presented, the engagement that comes from 4-H members, and that view that it's not simply about developing yourself. It's about developing the community and those around you. So a long history of engagement, and very proud of 4-H for what it has done personally for our family, the change that I've seen in my own sons, but also the power of 4-H to really make a difference in people in our communities.
It's so nice to hear that you have such a long history of connection with the 4-H program. What is your favorite aspect of the 4-H program?
My favorite is, really the focus on the person and the personal development, but also the citizenship development. And really trying to look at the individual and develop them, of course, to their full potential, but recognizing that is a benefit both to the individual, of course, but there's an extended benefit to that development, and that's the community, that's the citizen side of 4-H, and I really like it, just because it speaks to not just the need that all of us have for our own sort of personal fulfillment and development, but it recognizes that the value of 4-H is what you can do collectively, and what you get a chance to influence in your clubs, and certainly in your community. And I don't need to tell you this. I mean, you recognize it, 4-H members recognize it. But if there was a time in our history where we need that sense of connection, where we need the sense of being part of something bigger than ourselves, the need to really cooperate, right, and to be good citizens. It is now, and we've all been frustrated by sort of what we see play out, and say, why do they do that? Why is it that way? And I look to the youth as those folks who understand, particularly in the 4-H, that have been, working hard to develop themselves, that they can extend that sort of power of development into the community. So that's what I like most about it. In addition to that, what I have witnessed firsthand is that those youth who are in the 4-H look at the world differently. They look at it because they've been involved, right? They understand that it needs what they have to offer: the leadership, the determination, the voice. And I think that's really an important statement. So there are many things that I'm a fan of when it comes to the 4-H, but most importantly is that they focus in on the person and the power of that person's ability to influence their community. And developing to do that, it's not just sort of set out as an expectation, but giving them that confidence to actually step out and engage and change and provide that necessary vision that we need for our community. So yeah, a fan of 4-H because of my personal involvement, but also the power to make a difference.
I definitely agree with everything that you said there, and just creating future leaders of tomorrow. And I definitely see the impact on a lot of 4-Hers. How do you bring awareness to the 4-H program as you come in contact with people who may or may not know about the program?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, the awareness for me is always being aware myself that there are folks around me who have shaped who I am. That is in part my youth engagement. It's the 4-H, it's cooperative extension, they're extension educators, they're leaders. So it starts with myself and just being top of mind, aware that 4-H is important to many. And 4-H has shaped, quite frankly, a lot of our community and our civic leaders, our agricultural leaders. So first and foremost is just self-awareness, but also making sure that when I'm given the opportunity to speak, is to recognize our extension educators, recognize our 4-H leaders. So whether I'm standing in a show ring at a county fair, or I'm somewhere in an extension banquet, or one of the community activities that I speak of the power of 4-H, certainly making sure that I recognize folks who are leaders. And I think one of the things I enjoy doing when I speak is being able to recognize those who are part of 4-H and calling them out, in a sense, in a good way, right? Because you've done something important, and that is you've engaged to better yourself, but also you're doing things that are just really important to the community. And in some cases that's the project development, but also just sort of helping the community be better organized, to be better citizens, to be aware, to lend the voice. So awareness at many levels, but I always like to speak of 4-H and my family's involvement. And as you probably have witnessed, when I testify before the House and Senate in Pennsylvania for appropriations hearings, is to talk about FFA and 4-H as integral to both the development of our communities, but also important to support financially.
Yes, those personal experiences are really one of the most powerful things when it comes to bringing awareness to programs like 4-H. And with that, how do you bring awareness to agriculture through your position?
Thank you. I'm honored to serve as secretary, and I say every day that, when you get a chance to, do what you believe in, what you appreciate about your own sort of community, and to do that on a state level is truly a gift. And I've always sort of viewed my work in agriculture as a chance to both give back to the industry that was so important to my development, my family, my belief, my whole structure of being was embedded in the future of agriculture. And so it gave me a chance to really do that. And the job gives me a chance every day to tell the great story of agriculture, both as part of our history, but importantly, as part of our future. And that's been a lot of fun. I have learned a lot about Pennsylvania, the people who are in this business, those who have committed their lives to research, to the food system, to being producers, to being leaders, to really holding such a critical piece of our community in the industry of agriculture, right? One of the great things about it is it's at the very intersection of some of the most important issues of our time. It is about our health and economic development and jobs and the environment. That's where we live. That's where agriculture lives. That's where, we get a chance to both, fulfill what those basic needs are for everybody's table. But it's also recognizing that we're stewards of things, and we influence the direction of our community through land use, through food. So there's so many opportunities to bring awareness to agriculture in this job. The other thing that is important personally is that I always want people to look at agriculture as serving a need, right? It's not just satisfying them for the moment in terms of the food, but satisfying them in terms of what they see as the best qualities of their community. Recognizing that agriculture is everywhere. It's zip code neutral. I mean, I've been into the deepest parts of our cities, and to see agriculture inside of, say, Philadelphia, where things are happening, a lot of great things. Some of the great gardens, and some of the beehives and best beekeepers are on the high rises of our state metropolitan areas. So it's also being able to do that. And just final, I think there are so many issues that we also have to confront in agriculture, right? So awareness through both the problems we're solving for society, but also the importance of our food system. And if there's anything that we've learned from COVID-19, it's about what is critical and who is critical and what's life sustaining. And I'm very proud of what agriculture has been able to do in our capacity to produce and provide to those who, through no fault of their own, are finding themselves in food lines. And that is really, it's disheartening because it's happening, but I'm gratified to know that we have the capacity in the state to produce and provide. And that's part of the story, that we're there in good times, but we're also there in the tough times. And that's a wonderful place to be as an industry, and to be part of that in any way, in any time that I can raise the awareness among the community about the power of agriculture to change lives. I want to do it. So thank you.
Yeah, truly, agriculture is such a powerful thing and something so important to bring awareness to and about, because it's incredible to be able to talk to people about agriculture and the amazing impacts that it has and just how far-reaching it is. And I know we've kind of talked about 4-H some already and your favorite aspects of the program, but what inspires you about the 4-H program and the youth involved in the organization?
What inspires me most is that it is inclusive. It is welcoming. It doesn't matter your race, your ethnicity, your gender, your socioeconomic status in life, where you live, where you grew up, what your future plans are. It is so inclusive. And again, I look at our society and say that is a real blessing to have an organization that welcomes everybody, regardless of who they are and their life circumstances. and how important that is. Because when I look at the 4-H, there's something for everybody, right? I look at the programs that you're offering during this virtual farm show as a great example, right? From the fiber arts to livestock, just on and on. I mean, getting the chance to work as my sons did in rocketry and woodworking and livestock and foods. There is something there. The only limitation is imagination. And that is a really powerful place to be. So I'm inspired that, 4-H is an organization that's inclusive, it's diverse. It is also inspiring to see what the leaders, just as yourselves, are doing to both improve the organization at the state level, but also it's inspiring to see what people who have been part of 4-H do for their families and their communities and our state. And I think that is a great, great place to be associated with, and in any way that we can support that and grow that, we want to be part of it. So it is inspiring every day. Thank you.
As 4-H members, it is really important for us to be inclusive and make sure that we are allowing the opportunities for growth. And it is amazing that you see that as well. So we would like to know about your position as the Secretary of Agriculture and what your favorite part or aspect of your role is.
How much time do you have? I'll just say, the favorite part is being able to raise up the people, who are in this business. And there's a lot of things that I enjoy about the department, but in the position. But anytime that I can, find folks who are frontline producers and tell their story, to go, onto these farms that are, 10th generation and talk about what's changed, but at the same time, be able to go places where there are first generation farmers and the folks who, are just newly exposed to it, but also go into communities and see where we touch them, right? At the food banks, in our conservation districts, to talk about food safety. There's so many aspects that I enjoy about the department, but I've come to appreciate that we touch the lives of every Pennsylvanian every day. Whether they know that or not, I think is part of the challenge. But to know that in a department that started out, with a very simple mission of promoting and educating and engaging agriculture and developing markets and seeing, making sure that our communities developed. That's where it started. I look at that today. It's gotten more complex because of the issues we deal with around animal health and plant health and safety and so forth. But at its very core is the opportunity for me to meet the people that make this industry what it is, to get a chance to inspire youth to maybe look at this industry for the opportunities it has to offer in terms of jobs and careers and meaningful places of employment. That's all part of my favorite job. Yeah, and I'll toss in, I do get a chance to, participate in a lot of food events. So that's a big part of the job. I try to limit the intake a little bit, but all favorite parts and just traveling the state. The one thing that this job has allowed me to do is to see Pennsylvania. And it's an amazing place. It really, for all of its diversity in the rural communities and urban centers, and just getting a chance to see Pennsylvania, because you really don't know the state until you travel into these little towns and communities. And so when you talk about food access, when you talk about infrastructure, when you talk about jobs, it's all out there, and you get a chance to see it in this position as secretary.
It's amazing to know that you get to travel all across Pennsylvania and see how amazing it is, and just the little farms and even the big farms as well.
Yeah.
For our final question today, we would like to know if you have any advice to give to the 4-Hers tuning into this episode.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me end where I began with a simple thank you. I mean, I think certainly to the Leadership Council for what you're doing, to each of the 4-H members who are involved and engaged. I want to say thank you to them, and to the parents and the educators and all of the folks who are surrounding the 4-H and who make it really what it is. You make the best better, but they make the 4-H what it is. Right. And I think that sort of piece to me would be important. From an advice standpoint, I think it's important for a couple of things. One, for every 4-H member to take full advantage of the organization. Right. It has so much to offer. And you're sort of, first witness to that, of what it can do where you apply your interests. There's something inside of the 4-H for you. And everybody else. But take full advantage of that and understand that it's both sort of personal interest to develop yourself. But while you're doing that, just also learn how to cooperate. Learn how to, to do those things that, we desperately need in our society. And that's folks who are respectful, that they're civil, that they know how to govern, that they engage. That is what 4-H does, and does it incredibly well. So they are, a couple of top of mind things that I would say to the 4-H members. In addition to that, leadership is about leading. And that's an important part of the 4-H program. But understand that leading doesn't always mean holding an office, right? Leading is about engagement, and it's about, finding solutions. I live here in Gettysburg, and I use that, the Battle of Gettysburg as a great sort of teacher and inspiration. Is because we often think of the leaders as the folks on horseback. The leadership came from ordinary people who did extraordinary things. And I think of that in the 4-H context, right? It is both those on horseback, it is about people who are running their local clubs and chapters, but it's also the extraordinary work that's done just by people who are part of it, right? And they're not seeking that recognition, but they're really developing those important leadership skills. So to me, that is an important part of the work of 4-H, and just would say to every 4-H member, take a look at that, both from a personal standpoint, but also the benefits that come from the 4-H organization. I'm also reminded of research that Penn State did that looked at 4-H, and they found that more than 4-H members are twice as likely to contribute to their communities. Right? They're 1.5 times more likely to be engaged in school. They're 1.5 times more likely to participate in science and engineering, computers and technology and STEM fields. And importantly, they model the good behavior of citizenship and engagement and personal responsibility. So as 4-H members, you have so much potential to contribute, but also so much potential to learn and really make a difference to yourselves, of course, but your families and the community. So the original ideals that were embodied in 4-H are, I think, more important, and they are as true today as they were when the founders started. And I think that legacy of making a difference in people's lives and our communities is a really powerful organization to be part of. You represent that in your leadership council, but it's also a reminder to all of us that taking advantage of those opportunities as 4-H members can really make a difference, not just to ourselves, but to our society. So thank you very much for the interview, and really appreciate the good work of the Leadership Council. Thank you.
Again, thank you for your dedication and continuous support to the 4-H program, and we really appreciate and had so much fun and talking with you, and we appreciate you joining us today.
Merry Christmas to you. Thank you.